Joining me now, Chief Executive Officer of the Freedom Foundation, Withe. Aaron, you read through this list and you're like, this is a teachers union? Like, schools, what does this have to do with defunding the police? All of these lists of demands. It's like they're running for office or something.
Natalie, you're absolutely right. The teachers' unions are one of the most powerful special interests in our country. And if this doesn't show people at home and teachers that this is one of the most powerful groups in the country, then I don't know what will. They've literally taken millions of kids' education hostage to go out and pursue their own political agenda. In Los Angeles specifically, we have hundreds of thousands of kids being kept out of school while the unions are demanding for defunding the police. It's absolutely ridiculous. They do not represent our children. They represent themselves, they represent their political agenda, and they represent money. That's all these people care about. They do not care about our kids, and that's why we at the Freedom Foundation have filed this lawsuit to hold them accountable and hopefully to get our kids back in school.
Well, in San Diego, you look at the teachers there, they're all of a sudden volunteering their time to go down to the San Diego Convention Center, where you have dozens of migrant kids that have tested positive. Meantime, the San Diego schools are still closed. So you realize this never had anything to do with COVID. You read through the list of demands, that has nothing to do with COVID. It's almost like they all decided to go on strike, and then we all found out they're just really a bunch of liberals.
Yeah, never let a good crisis go to waste, right? And that's exactly what the teachers' unions have done here. And people need to see that this is really where their interests are. And I'm almost glad in a way that they are, because now people can really see that this isn't about COVID. You know, when you've got these teachers in San Diego volunteering to go and teach kids in person that are here illegally, that obviously have a lot more COVID than our students do, it has nothing to do with health, and it has everything to do with their political agenda. And that's why we at the Freedom Foundation have filed the lawsuit. And on top of that, we're running a campaign nationally to go and inform every teacher in the country that they can opt out of their union and stop paying union dues. This is the way that we hold teachers' unions accountable to their membership.
Well, you see how threatened they are of charter schools, of home schools, of private schools, simply because they actually showed their hand by putting it in the list and saying, we don't want charter schools anymore. So they don't want that school choice that President Trump fought so hard for, that we were going to be able to have. Now that the Democrats are in control, they want to shut down the ability to have school choice, and they want to run everything, even if it means that parents are having to homeschool their kids at home for a year simply because they won't reopen the schools. But tell us just real quick on kids. We've seen the stories. It's devastating, the emotional consequences of this, learning on Zoom where they really aren't learning. What are you guys seeing on the ground based on these kids, how they're even testing now, missing a year's worth of in-person learning?
My wife is a school teacher, so I hear firsthand stories. Her kids have just gotten back in the classroom. She has 4 show up in the morning and 5 show up in the afternoon. Their reading, writing, and math is significantly down. These kids have not received the education that they should have in the last year because online learning did not work for them. And parents, teachers alike have been emailing, calling all of our staff here at the Freedom Foundation. I got one email this morning from a parent in Virginia who said his kid hadn't been in school for over a year now, and it's a 9-year-old kid, had talked about suicide, has now been institutionalized, and he's put it all down to the lack of being in the classroom and not being able to see his friends. It's ridiculous that we've gotten to this point, and the teachers' unions should be ashamed, and I hope that everybody wakes up to see that this is their agenda. They do not benefit our kids, and we need to hold them accountable.
It's just devastating to hear stories like this, because you know there's so many other stories out there and people just don't want to talk about it because they're afraid to talk about it. But thank you for what you're doing, because it really is giving families, parents, and kids hope that they can at least push back, that somebody's out there fighting for them, because we have to have this. These are our kids missing 1 year of education. It's not like they're going to be able to just jump back into it. They're going to be missing that 1 year of foundation, and who knows how that's going to affect the rest of their lives. So thank you. God bless you and the work you're doing, because it's very, very important.
Thank you, Natalie, and thanks for covering this.